equally kind to everyone. He has graciously come before me while I am ending my life, for I am his unflinching servitor. So, this text is giving us some insight about, and the purport here proper mentions about, the Lord also does have some bond of affinity with his devotees, or some type of relationship with these devotees. For instance, Arjuna is his maternal cousin. Can you imagine how to be a cousin of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So, this is interesting in the sense that people always think about the absolute truth or the Supreme Personality of Godhead as very impersonal. Light, sound, whatever. But that personal future where one can relate with the Lord, even as a cousin, that is very much rare. Even in our own daily worship, our relationship with the Lord is that of awe and reverence. We fall down before the Lord to pay obeisances. Cousins, they don't pay obeisances. Fall down and pay obeisances to your cousin. So it's a very intimate relationship. However, Bhishma Dev is not opportune to have this type of bond of affinity with the Lord. Notwithstanding, he has very stimulating relationship with the Lord. He has very intriguing relationship with the Lord. Otherwise, how would the Lord come to him on his deathbed? It's like the Lord coming to facilitate his transition. Krishna comes to Bhishma Dev's deathbed. And therefore, this is part of the glorification of the devotee. And Bhishma, he says here that he has graciously come before me while I am ending my life, for I am his unflinching servitor. Now, one of the important features here is that someone may query, why would Bhishma Dev say, I am his unflinching servitor? That one would say a devotee is supposed to be humble. If even you're so close to the Lord, you should always say, oh, I'm far away from the Lord. I'm looking for the Lord, like the six Goswamis. But here, Bhishma Dev says, I am his unflinching servitor. Whether you like it or not, you should hear it. I am his unflinching servitor. And we cannot dispute that. And his statement here is not just for his self-glory. It is for the glorification of the Lord. You know, when the devotee is being praised, simultaneously the Lord is actually deeply in love with that type of emotions. And so Bhishma mentions here that he is an unflinching servitor. So it implies that this is not born out of false pride or lack of humility, but he is expressing his bond of affinity with the Lord to be able to let people understand that the Lord is merciful to his devotees. Okay, so in other words, it's like he's saying, look, I'm his servitor, he's here to facilitate my transition. And it could happen to any one of you, any one of you. The Lord could come to any one of you to facilitate your transition at the final hour. So it is interesting. In this Krishna consciousness, we learn very somewhat strange things. Before we come to Krishna consciousness, it is difficult to have the perception that, the Lord could be someone's cousin, or someone could be the Lord's servitor, unflinching servitor. Unflinching servitor is born out of unflinching faith. And that unflinching faith implies that the person is fully dependent on the mercy of the Lord, on the protection of the Lord. So, Prabhupada mentions right in the fourth sentence here that although equal to everyone, the Lord is still inclined to his unflinching devotees. In other words, someone may even accuse the Lord of being partial. But that's not partiality. It's called loving reciprocation. You love me, I love you. You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. So if someone is unflinchingly devoted to the Lord also reciprocates. He's ready. He carries Nanda Maharaj's shoes on his head, wooden shoes on his head for him. So this is another demonstration of his loving reciprocation. So he has come to Bhishma Dev, and that's a demonstration, absolute demonstration of his love for his devotee, his love for Bhishma Dev. Keep in mind that Lord Krishna himself mentions in the Gita that what you remember at the time of death determines your next destination. And so this is not just a question of remembering the Lord. The Lord comes before Bhishma, before Bhishma Dev. Just see the glories. How glorious this personality. And look at even his own personal life. Bhishma Dev, he ceded his right to the throne to his half-brother. He had an opportunity to own the whole empire, but he ceded his right to the throne. So that type of self-sacrifice, especially power, imagine power. Look, when Trump was voted out of power, it was so difficult for him to accept that he's been voted out of power that someone else has become the president. But here, Bhishma Dev, he has He is the heir to the throne. And he voted himself out of power. He voted himself out of power. He said his half brother should be the king. So this is a very powerful message for us and for the whole world. Those very few people are detached from power. Very few people. Even politicians. We have one great late politician in Africa. You see, anywhere you travel to, they say you're a black man. Oh, you're from South Africa. You're from South Africa. You're from South Africa. Why? Nelson Mandela made South Africa popular by dint of his struggles for the common man. And not only that, after serving for some time, he voluntarily backed out. That is very difficult for politicians because people want to stay there till they die. You see, in some countries, just recently, one of these heads of state in the Caribbean was assassinated. So the highly realized souls, they are very much detached from trying to rule the world till the end of their life. They take time out of their busy schedule. They take time out of their commitments to the people, and they want to give time to themselves. This has been the nature of the Vedic culture, that the king, after ruling for some time, he gives power to his son, and then he retires to the forest to prepare to meet up with Krishna. These days, people are not interested in trying to make a plan to meet with Krishna at the time of death. So, it's like either you voluntarily prepare to meet Krishna, or you'll be forced to, or we are forced to meet Krishna by force in the form of death. So, bottom line is that the Lord has different relationships with different people. Arjuna is his cousin. But if even one does not have a material bond of affinity with the Lord, you could be an exalted personality like Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev had no material affinity with the Lord, but his dedication in executing his orders, his dedication in helping out with whatever opportunities he had to be able to liberate society. Well, one may say, oh, what are you talking about? Bhishma Dev was there when Draupadi was being derobed. And if some people, they compare Bhishma Dev to Jatayu. Jatayu is a feeble, old bed, but then he fought to try to save Sita until his death. Whereas Bhishma Dev was just a powerful, heroic personality, but he didn't use his power to be able to protect Draupadi. Yeah, sometimes we have these arguments in some circles. Like I mentioned, one of the talks, Bhishma himself confessed that he was not able to do anything to protect Draupadi, because he was being influenced. He was heavily influenced by the Kauravas. Because the Kauravas were the people who were feeding him. He want to control people, give them nice food, but provide nice food for them. Yeah, this is the whole secret. The person who is giving you nice food, it's difficult to tell them, I will not help you, I will not protect you. So, there are a number of things that we can take home with. Now, the Lord is mentioned, Papa mentioned the property, the Lord is pleased to be called Nanda Nandana, Yasoda Nandana, because all of these, material affinities, they help us to have that identification with the people around us. So the Lord, teaching by his own personal example, he also likes this. He likes being around his devotees. He likes even to serve his devotees. Otherwise, how did he become a messenger of the Pandavas? He has a pleasure. The Lord has a pleasure in serving his devotees, in providing for his devotees' needs, in serving his devotees' needs. And that relation, what is making him to have that commitment? The bond of affinity, the relationship, the loving relationship. If you love someone very dearly, not artificially, you want to do whatever you can to be able to salvage their challenges or salvage them from their challenges. So the Lord is also like that. Sometimes even he takes responsibility himself to be able to see that his devotees are rescued from dangerous situations. So we have these physical bodies, but we also have a metaphysical bodies. And even beyond that, we are spirit souls. So if we can see people, we can see people around us beyond the physical manifestation as spirit souls, it becomes easy to live together. It becomes easy to be able to facilitate the needs of each other. And just like, Bhakti Swami Maharaj, he mentions in his writings that we should treat the people around us in such a way that we should have the mindset that at the time of my leaving the body, these are the people who are going to be around me. You see, we are not Bhishma Dev, that Krishna will come to facilitate our transition. So we have to understand that there is a need for good relationships. There's a need for friendly relationships. There's a need for loving relationships. In that way, there are so many ways that we could profess to be able to love people or to love people. But that love has to be completely devoid of any personal motives. Now, it's so difficult to find love without any personal motives. But a relationship, the loving relationship between the devotee and Lord Krishna, basically is devoid, because why is it pure? Because it's devoid of all mundane affinities. And so we serve the Lord, not because we want him to give us some bread. Bread anybody can get. And essentially, the idea of devoting one's life to Krishna is to be able to become eventually 100% surrender unto him. is to become like Bhishma, one-pointed, focused on the objective criterion of human existence, loving service to the Lord. And when we do that, by the Lord's special mercy, He comes to the rescue. If even we are in difficulty, we're facing some serious challenge at the time of death. This is what happens at the time of death. Bhishma is living, and the Lord personally come there. The Lord may not personally come to our deathbed, but He will ignite. He has the power to ignite our remembrance of Him, and which is this same thing. The essence is for one to become Krishna conscious. Bhishma was excited, was happy that the Lord personally has come there. Why? Because he was given a chance to be able to have the darshan of the Lord right there before him until he passes away. So that is an amazing benediction on the devotee. And therefore, Bhishma boldly declares, I am his unflinching servitor. I mean, it's like Lord Krishna mentioned to Arjuna, declare boldly, my devotee will never perish. He shall never perish. So, there is no limit to which the devotee can glorify the Lord. Because if we take an investment, or if we take into account of all the things that the Lord has been doing to us, we can't even recount all of them. But then the essential thing is that we have to remember that the Lord is there to give us all of the protection that we need. And he cares for us so much so that he expanded himself, or he expands himself as a super soul, and is following us anywhere we are going. He's accompanying us, even when we go into the toilet house. You say you have loved ones, but can your loved ones follow you to the toilet house? So just see what the Lord, the intensity of that love that the Lord has for the jiva. So, the appearance of Lord Krishna at the deathbed of Bhishma is due to his being an unflinching devotee of the Lord. So we should struggle, we should make an attempt to improve our values, to improve our spiritual conditioning, to the point that we should have a focus, we should have just a single focus on the Lord and his instructions. The Prabhupada mentions in the purport that we can't do all of this by ourselves. We need to walk under the guidance. We need to be guided by some pure devotee. And so that's relevant, because if you want to become a great man, you must be in a position to be able to learn to be great. And that means you will serve great people. And so the Lord is merciful to us, although we are not qualified, but he always has been making some arrangements. Either if even we forget him, he personally comes before us. If even we forget him, he sends his servitors. He makes his servitors to remind us about his unflinching love for us. And so the whole of this type of relationship or transactions, loving transactions, is meant to consolidate and deepen our love for the Lord, so that at the time of death, we have a chance to be able to attract the mercy of the Lord, like Bhishma did. And so, if we take into account the nature of this material world, people have different types of condition and different types of relationships. But no one can really say that they love us just like Krishna did. Because in most cases, people love us, people show their affection for us when the going is good. When the going is tough, even family members, they tend to abandon us. But Krishna never abandons us. And therefore, he is the true lover, he is the true friend, and he is the true protector. He does not only profess to protect, but he does protect in practice. And he makes himself available to be able to facilitate positive spiritual changes in our lives. So let us think about how we can improve on our devotional service and how we can become better servants so that we may attract the mercy of the Lord when we are in difficulties, especially when we have to quit this body. Any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj. I'm sorry, you might hear some noise of my background here because I was using a headphone because there is some sort of construction machine working here. But you were telling me the microphone was not clear, so I'm using a different one. Okay, can Prabhu has a question? Prabhuji, can I ask you a question?
Okay. Yeah, Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for coming, and thank you very much for the explanation and on the Lord on Bhishma Dev. So in the course of your lecture, you made mention about the great leader of Africa, like Nelson Mandela, who showed a very good leadership and also renounced on it. But we have seen that, especially in Africa, once they will take up a leadership role, we tend to take it as our birthright, and even when we are dying, and also maybe we see that we are not capable, still we still think, oh, I have to be there. It's my duty to be there. And for example, if you look all around Africa, same thing is going on in north, south, west, everywhere you look. Even that also sometimes affect our organization. So that shows that that tendency to cling to leadership role is very deep inside. So how can one learn detachment like Nelson Mandela you gave as an example, and also like Bhishma Dev? How can we learn the lesson of how to be detached from leadership or control, the tendency to control, and focus on the Lord at the time of our.
Thank you. That's a very nice question, because this is something very practical. This is something that is affecting the African continent. And we find not only in Africa, practically all over the world, people are just or try to change even the constitution of their country, just to be able to, and to enable them to rule for life. So it's not only Africa. You see, by nature, the conditioned soul is a power broker, a power seeker, and by inherently we are small Ishwaras. We are small Ishwaras, so we have a tendency to control. And so wherever we find ourselves, we create some in-groups and out-groups, and then sometimes you find that the same people that you cater for so much, you're fighting for so much, they come to put a bullet on your head. So, and the examples that we have, we may say Bhishma Dev, well, is a pure devotee of the Lord. What about Nelson Mandela? So there are people on the planet that they just come to teach us how to live their lives, how to live our lives sociologically, and create waves and create an avenue for other people to come to be able to understand that everything in this material world is temporary. So first of all, we have to, and I mentioned this to some of my friends some years ago. And I said, you are a temple president. Now you should think about what are you going to do when you're removed from temple presidency? What is going to be your service? So if you think about that, then you have to be able to develop some skills, learn some other skills, not just to depend on what people are going to come and fight you about and throw you off. So in practice, we know that everything is very temporary. You may be a GBC today, tomorrow you're not. You may be the president of America today, tomorrow you're not. So we have to understand that detachment from all of these positions is important for our sustainable growth. In fact, we hear about detachment, but in most cases, we don't seem to think that it is applicable to us too. So yeah, I mean, it's like you have a very beautiful child, a very attractive child, and all of a sudden the child dies. You may want to kill yourself. But that is a test. Whether what we have been hearing, we are imbibing it, or we are not imbibing it. Are we putting it into practice, or we are not? So the best way to deal with the situation is to be able to, first of all, we have this knowledge that detachment is a weapon to be used in creating a viable future for ourselves. Now, we have to apply that into our own lives, into our own small daily executions. And then when we come into the bigger reality, we will not find difficulty in putting into practice. The Roman Empire was not built overnight. And so we have to practice from little things first. Our expectations. We're expecting so much from other people. And when we don't have that, then everyone else becomes our enemy. And the people around us that we seem to be lovingly related, they become our enemies. Or when people don't give in to our desires, then they no longer have friends. If your child does not cope with your status quo, then you want to throw the child out of the house. But there is a need to be able to understand that not even your children, not all of them are going to have a compatibility with you. Some of them will disagree with you. Even your own children. Be ready for that. And so when it is happening, you don't try to kill yourself. You don't put yourself in unnecessary anxiety. And so, yeah, when we embrace the worst situations, or when we are thinking, when we anticipating the worst situations, when bad things happen, we don't get very disturbed. When we are anticipating for the best situation, when bad things happen, we get very disturbed. So one of those strategies is that we should expect the worst situation. If the good things happen, then we embrace it. If the bad things happen, then we just have the understanding that, well, I was expecting it. So we don't even wait for the bad things to happen. We pave way, we create a way and get out of the circle before the bad things happen. And that's why you find that people who are really very drunk in they're very possessive, they don't think of anything else than to increase, the subgroups around them, their supporters and all this stuff. But then you find at the same time, the same supporters, they come and assassinate them. And so we should learn from what is going on in the world and be prepared for the worst situation, even within our family setting. Because human beings are dynamic. The humans, they keep changing. They keep changing their frame of minds. They keep changing their actions, their attitudes, their values. And so you have a child, and then they have attained adolescence, the attitude changes. They become young adults, their attitude changes. And then they begin to wonder, hey, is it not this boy? Is it not this girl? You just put unnecessary anxieties on yourself. And so we should expect, my point is, we should expect a lot of diversity in our communities, a lot of diversities in our families, a lot of diversities in mindsets in our communities. And therefore, when people do not necessarily kowtow to us, we don't feel worried, we don't feel disturbed. And we don't even have to wait for us to figure out different ways to be able to facilitate the positive change of others. And when we're doing that without any motivation, without a desire to control, sometimes, you make provision for your children, but then at the back of your mind, you want to control them all the time. I've seen cases where people are like 35 years old and their parents, they're still trying to control them. So this idea of control, Ishvara Bhav, is very intense. And so we have to understand that we are very minuscule and we have to serve the Supreme Ishvara Paramakrishna. Instead of struggling for everyone around us to serve us, we should think, I am a small, infinitesimal jiva, meant for the service of the Lord. And when we perfect our servitude to the Lord, we'll become happy like Vishnu did. In fact, we'll be glorified all over the three worlds. And we will have the boldness to declare that, yeah, I am an unflinching servant servitor of the Lord, as a means of spreading the message of God to others, as a means of glorifying the Lord before the assembly of devotees. So this is one major event that we have to face, that we cannot align everyone to suit our purpose. And therefore, even within our own families, we should be prepared and have a frame of mind to understand that everyone is not going to tow along with you. Your wife may disagree with you. Your husband may disagree with you. Your child may disagree with you. Because our faces are not the same. Our priority sequence also varies. And so practical reality is that, in fact, when we have this mindset, we will not run it, we will not have conflicts with people. So, learning to hear what we have heard and practicing the little that we know, we should grow it. That is the watchword. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. We know your time is really late today. It's almost 11:30 p.m. But now I have one question. I say one question because of your time, because I have so many questions. Of course, I'm very insignificant and I do not really understand the Vedic scriptures, but particularly Bhishma Dev's activities is so bewildering to me. It's very difficult for me to wrap my head around his activities. So my question here is, what is more glorious for someone leaving his body to have Krishna, the Supreme Lord himself, visiting? That is the best time to quit your body. But Bhishma Dev, even after being visited by the Supreme Lord and the Pandavas, he saw the Supreme Lord, he glorified him, he worshipped him. Yet he did not quit his body. He was waiting for the sun to set in the north before he would quit his body, and that is what he did. So was Bhishma Dev seeing the movement of the sun more superior to having the Supreme Lord being present before him? Why did he do that, especially when the Supreme Lord had just visited him, which is the best time for him to leave his body? He had the power to leave his body whenever he chose to. So why didn't he leave or quit his body at the time when Krishna was there, but he waited till the sun went to the north?
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. It's a nice question. Bhishma, Lord Krishna was right there. He came to, facilitate his transition, but he waited until a particular time, constellation of the sun, before he left his body. Bhishma is also a mystic. He's teaching by his one of our great exemplary teachers. So he's leading, he's teaching by the example of the mystical devotees living at a particular time. And of course, he is a very elevated mystic. And so although Krishna was personally there, he didn't want to break the rules for which the mystics, the highly elevated yogis, depart from this world. So that people who are lazy don't take undue advantage. I will not do anything, and I will just wait. I wait for the Lord's mercy. So he is a perfected mystic, and therefore he has to also demonstrate his potencies. Not everyone is just going to have to wait for a particular time to leave the body. In fact, some majority of us, we don't have a choice. You know, when the time comes, I mean, you're gone. So here is someone who had a choice, but then he waited, and basically that is to teach by example. By the way, he already had achieved Krishna. He already achieved Krishna. He doesn't want to break the rules of the game. He wants to demonstrate that, look, don't be lazy. Strive hard. And perfection is there. And you can choose to leave your body at your will. So it's teaching, this is a very nice point. Again, it's teaching us, you know, a very deep lesson that we should not take undue advantage of the presence of the Lord. We should be very, very ready to work hard to be able to achieve the ultimate goal. Yes, Hardy, thank you very much. It's a nice question. Today, I'm not going to stay beyond 1 hour because I've not been sleeping past couple of days, so I want to try to see. I saw a doctor today, and he prescribed some things for me to do. So I will have to leave just at 11:30 my time, which is just about.
Still remain 3 minutes.
Which is
remain 3 minutes. Maybe we can just.
Yes. Okay, so Kavi, you may get the last.
Yeah, please, you have to take rest. We need the rest. You know, the body has to be balanced for the spirit to work properly. Also, exactly. So the one I will just add shortly is that just like you mentioned about Bhishma then being a supremist mystic, that is why he was able to decide when to go. But I begin to think the other day also the person who came to give lecture was asking also. What kind of pious activity somebody has to perform that he has to decide when to leave his body on his own? Because I was giving an example to that person that, like my grandfather, my mommy's father, he told the family that he's waiting for his firstborn, and immediately the firstborn came and he handed over to him, and Piam is left on his own. So I want to know, is there any particular thing one has to do for him to be able, like a Bhishma day we heard about because he sacrificed for his father, so he was able to be blessed. But I want to know in general, is there anything one has to do for him to be able to decide? Because some people, they just live on unknowingly, like that. So I don't know. Please, Mara, if you can just throw more light a little bit on this. 2 minutes we have. Sorry.
Yeah. You see, someone may not be coming to your temple to worship Krishna with you or to chant Hare Krishna with you. But there are some people who are endowed by dint of their past lives. They're endowed with some type of potentials. And they can choose to live at a particular time. Otherwise, you see, if everyone is completely under the control of Yamadutas or Yamaraj, what's the question of waiting for somebody, waiting for your son? No. So some people, you see, this is one thing I have emphasized over and over again and again to some of my friends, that we should not underrate people just because they are not in our temple. People have been endowed with different potentials. And they might decide to wait for somebody or to see someone, to talk to somebody before they leave. So people have different capabilities on the planet, especially, mystical abilities. People have different potentials. And it just implies that we should be more humble. We should get into being self-sacrificial. Bhishma Dev was self-sacrificial. He helped his father, and not only that, he ceded his powers to the throne to his half-brother. So, we are not ready. We want everything for ourselves. We want everyone else. Look, I'm a Swami. Come on, pay obeisances to me. We want everyone to worship us. We want the whole world to worship us. And then, we want to be glorified. But there are people who do not really care about these things. And their inner bearing is that of a deep connection with the absolute truth. They may not necessarily come to our temple. They have a strong connection from their pious merit. Pious merit. A typical, look at Bhishma's life, how he sacrificed his own comforts to help his father, to facilitate his father's social enjoyment. One may think, well, this is very material. But if you please your father, you get some blessings. So Bhishma Dev did that. And so we should see how we are becoming used as instruments for elevating others, facilitating the needs of others. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
You're welcome.
I always enjoy your coming. Please continue to bless us with your discussion.
You would like
Saha, better take a lead.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj. We just wanted to register our appreciation.
Hare Ram.
Presence here. His Holiness Dr. Krishna Maharaj and His Grace Vasudeva. We thank you all for your presence. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare
She runs a charitable. Since you are here, I had if you would be willing to
Decided, Babu, your mic is not good today.
I'm not hearing at all.
Really?
Decided, Babu, the mic is not good today.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
No.
You cannot.
The mic is cracking. The mic is cracking.
Can you hear me now?
Sita Krishna.
No.
We are hearing you, but the mic is cracking.
Okay. All right. Is it better now?
We are hearing you, but the mic is cracking. Not that we are not hearing you, but we are hearing you is cracking.
Okay. Maybe somebody else may ask questions. Maybe Krishna doesn't want me to say anything.
Sorry, Prabhu. Sorry, Prabhu. The mic is cracking. Nice to see everybody around. See, Prem Prabhu. Glories. What else would Bhakti? All praise. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna to you, Goranga.
Welcome to the
Humble obeisance to all of you, Jai. Hare Krishna. We are humble servants, so.
Should I stand up?
Carry us along,
I'm stand up. I'm like,
carry your humble servants along,
I can stand up. I'm lying down.
Hare Krishna.
Oh,
Hare
glory.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Go Ranga. Go Ranga. Hare Krishna. Haribo. Hare Krishna. Haribo.
So good to see you.
It's nice seeing your little faces. Thank you for giving us your darshan. Hare Krishna. Yes. We meditate on your little speech. Please don't refuse us. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna, we see you all again tomorrow.
Yeah, all glory.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
His grace, Sahadev, the mighty Sah. Hare Krishna.
I have some questions, but somehow there's no questions today.